Hi everyone and welcome to a new episode of Miriam Talks About Things. Now in today's episode I would like to give you a quick coming soon of the channel as well as talking to you about my reading interests, so like bookish buzzwords, genres I like to read and what specific thing I like to read in that genre. But again, first I would like to give you a quick coming soon. Now we've established this podcast called Miriam Talks About Things on the channel, which is basically me talking about my recent reads, bookish tags and discussions. Again, always feel free to recommend me tags or discussion topics in the comment section, but also talks about art and popular culture and just life in general. Now in the future, I would like to introduce 2 more series to the channel. They will all be in the podcast format because I've noticed that this is truly a format that I love doing and I love creating, and I want to pursue that here on the channel. So I hope you're up for that. You can always go to my Twitter or Instagram if you would like to see my face. It's always on there sometime. So yeah. But the 2 new series that I would like to introduce in the future are firstly a series that is called quite simply 5 book recommendations. It's quite self-explanatory. So what it is I will pick a category or a theme or a topic where I will introduce you to 5 books within that topic, theme, etc. Therefore, I will talk about books that I feel like you would enjoy if you are looking for recommendations within that specific category, or if you just want to broaden your reading. So be sure to look out for that. I hope to introduce it very soon. Another new series, or the second series I would like to introduce to the channel, is called Reading the Swiss Germans, which is also actually quite self-explanatory. I want to take a chance to also talk about the books I read that are originally written in German and maybe not translated, or again just originally written in German and that I've read in German. That could either be written by a German author or a Swiss German author, but I want to showcase that side of my reading as well, alongside the English books I'm reading, and maybe give you recommendations if you read in German, but also let you know what is outside of the English-speaking book community, and maybe introduce you to some new topics and some new things to think about. So yeah, you can find more information on my channel info, and I hope you are going to be on board for those series. Now, talking about my next subject for this podcast. Yesterday, my mom and I reorganized our English TBR bookshelf because of future advent calendar purchases. More on that probably at the end of November in another podcast episode. So we reorganized and made some space, and I noticed that especially 2 of the cubes we reorganized really showcase my interests in reading, and I would like to talk to you and chat to you about what those things are, especially in regards to my discussion I had over on Twitter about genres, especially with the focus of, do I, let's say, believe in literary fiction? I would like to show you that I do also care about the different aspects of reading and the different genres and what they do, and just introduce you a little bit more to my reading. So what I will do is take a look at my bookshelf and sort of let you know what are the things I like to read about and the genres, and maybe then just pick the books that go alongside that. So what I like to read when it comes to nonfiction, for example, is a very specific and also personal look at a topic, especially about everyday culture and everyday living. We have, for example, the trip of Echo Spring to Echo Spring, by Olivia Lang. I hope that's remotely right. Which is a look at how artists, and I think especially writers, deal with alcohol and how that correlates with each other. So that's something I'm really interested in. When it comes to classics, for example, one thing that really interests me is how we see classics written by women and just generally supporting classics written by women. 3 examples on that shelf for me are Save Me the Waltz by Zelda Fitzgerald, who throughout her life and even after lived in the shadow of her husband, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I find it very important to have another outlook on their life, since they write a lot about how they are living and about their lifetimes. But also something like Joanne Lindsay's Picnic at Hanging Rock, but also The Waves by Virginia Woolf, which is also taking a spin on narrative in classics, which is something that highly interests me. I would also like to get more into sort of sci-fi as a genre. For that, I have on my TBR Ancillary, Justice by Anne Leckie. And I really love the premise of this book. It sounds very intriguing, very fast-paced and adventurous, but also really looking at a very human question, which is something that I like to explore in sci-fi and in fantasy. Talking about fantasy, we also have The Raven Tower by Anne Leckie, which it has the raven in the title. I love books that feature birds in some way. And I also find it very interesting to see authors writing in multiple different genres, which is also reason why I picked this one up. Then we have another classic, which I currently see here, and that is John Steinbeck's East of Eden, which sort of covers my interest of those what you would call staple classics. East of Eden is a big name in the classic sort of group, and I'm interested in discovering what the hype, so to say, is about. Then we have another John Steinbeck, that is Cannery Row, which is interesting to me because it is looking at sort of the dynamics between people, which is something that I highly enjoy. Then we have another non-fiction book, and that is that by David George Haskell, and it's called The Songs of the Trees. This one is quite interesting to me because of its writing. I love non-fiction that is written in a very special way, and I've heard that this specific book is written very lyrically and very much like poetry. So I'm super curious to see what that is about. Then we have 2 books that sort of go along together. I really like to read as a popular culture student. I really like to read about fandom culture. And there I have Ship It as well as Chaotic Good, which they look at conventions as well as cosplaying, which I'm highly interested in, and I really look forward to be reading this one. Then we have Hot Dog Girl by Jennifer Duggan. this book really interests me because I really like those quirky and sort of out there premises when it comes to contemporary fiction. So that's why I picked this one up, because it's literally about a girl who dresses as a hot dog. Then we also have Strange Grace here, and that sort of covers a lot of things. It sort of covers my fascination of fantasy and that mysterious type of fantasy, and it covers my desire to read books set or about the woods, which is also covering another book by Ashley Elston, This Is Our Story. I just really sort of like that vibe. Then we have From Here to Eternity by Kathleen Doty, which is a non-fiction look at the different rituals concerning death, which is just something that, as a popular culture student, really, really interests me. Then we have again two books that sort of go together in regards of my interests, and that is Sex and the City and Us by Jennifer Cashin Armstrong, and The Ministry of Truth by Dorian Lynskey. Sex and the City and Us, of course, looks at the phenomenon, such a hard word to say, of Sex and the City, which is one of my favorite TV series. And The Ministry of Truth is looking at 1984, the novel by George Orwell. And I love to have books that look at different popular phenomenons, got it right this time, and look at the impact they had on society. Then a genre that I'm fairly new to, but I'm super interested in, is romance. And I have several ones on my TBR here, more to come in the future for sure. And that is, for example, A Lesson in Thorns by Sarah Simone, which I will be treating as a standalone, as it looks. Then we also have Terry Wilson, The Ballerina's Secret, because I really enjoyed The Accidental Beauty Queen by her. We also have the famous Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, and The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, and The Friend Zone. I also got one from my friend Matthew, You, Me and the Movies. I'm really looking forward to all of those. So yeah, that's what that is. Then more non-fiction, we have, for example, Bitch Fest, which is a collection of essays by the really well-known magazine, and it is sort of, again, popular culture essays, and I really love to read essay collections. Another example for that is Dead Girls, Essays on Surviving an American Obsession by Alice Boleyn. I just really love, especially essays about a topic in popular culture. I just adore it. Then I have something that is quite unusual for me, and that's Wilder Girls, the very popular and very well talked about book by Rory Power, which I think will be classified as horror. And I do want to get into horror more, but I'm also pretty scared. So yeah, we will see. I will be reading this one very soon. Then we have another nonfiction, which covers something that I really enjoy learning about, and that is Landmarks by Robert McFarlane, which is sort of nature writing story. Then we have another sort of group I can put together that contains Left Bank by Agnes Varrier, as well as The Beautiful Fall by Alicia Drake, and The Philosophy of Andy Warhol by Andy Warhol. Left Bank is looking at Paris in the 1940s and 50s and the people and thinkers and artists there and how they shaped the culture. Then The Beautiful Fall is looking at Karl Lagerfeld and Yves Saint Laurent and their relationship, and of course The Philosophy of Andy Warhol is looking at the philosophy behind Andy Warhol's art. So what that really shows is my interest in specific people and how they shape their field, but also society in general. Then we have another collection of essays and various writings called The Stonewall Reader, which is, of course, looking at the Stonewall riots or uprisings. And I am part of the LGBTQ community. I identify as queer or pansexual. So learning about my own history, so to speak, is very important to me, and the best way is for me to seek out nonfiction about it. Then we also have quite a chunker with a quite small font, which is the only reason that I have not yet picked it up, Matthew, and that is The Secrets of Jin Shay by, I don't know her name anymore, Alma Alexander. Got it. Which is, as you can tell, the favorite book by my friend Matthew, and he has been really pushing it, and I haven't read it yet, although it really covers a lot of things I'm interested in, especially being a historical fiction. I really, really love historical fiction, so I really need to get to it, I promise. Another sort of group is Perfectly Preventable Deaths, These Witches Don't Burn, and where's the other one? Wild Beauty, wow. And those sort of are my light fantasy, which is how I prefer my fantasies. I think you can call State of Sorrow by Melissa Salisbury a lighter fantasy as well, I think. I still need to get into the more heavy, high fantasy, but everything at a time, right? So yeah, we also have 2 plays on my TBR, or on that shelf of the TBR, and I really love to read plays. I just really like to experience them differently than just seeing them performed. I also really like experimental plays where you don't really can picture how it should be performed. So yeah, there's that. Then there are just a few more that I would like to pick, and the next 2 are, funny enough, father and son, as I can tell, and that is Doomadgee by Stephen King and Nosferatu by Joe Hill, which goes along the horror, wanting to explore that genre more. But we'll see when I get to those. But in themes, they really, really interest me. And again, as I said, I want to get into the genre of horror more, especially after starting to study popular culture. Do you see a theme? So yeah, those 2 as well. And the last category, no, not really. The second to last category is short stories. We have, for example, Antarctica by Claire Keegan, also of This New World by Allegra Hyde. I just really love consuming books in short stories, and especially because they often provide a different look into people's life than, for example, full-length novels. Now, another thing I really, really love is poetry. I have a separate poetry TBR, that's why I'm not looking at poetry at the moment, but I really, really love exploring everything within that genre. May that be modern form of poetry, I really try to open myself up more to that form and to really, really appreciate what it is actually doing. But I also like really the staples of classical poetry. I really appreciate everything within that genre, so that's a big thing. So as you can see, we have some classics, we have some non-fiction, we even have sci-fi and horror genres I'm recently getting into. We have fantasy, we have contemporary, we really have everything. It's just a small glimpse into my reading, and should maybe encourage you to share your reading interests in the comment section. I would love to hear it. And that was it for today's episode. Again, let me know how you feel about the new formats. Leave me a comment with your favorite things, your buzzwords. Another buzzword maybe to mention for me, alongside the whole woods and trees thing, is definitely also small towns. So again, just let me know in the comment section some of your favorite things to read about, some of your favorite things in the genres you like to read. Just let's have a chat in the comment section. And I hope to see you in a new episode of either this podcast or one of the new series. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next. I will hear you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.